Okay, we are back from our short break and ready to move on to sales and use taxes, beginning with the sales tax, for which the FY 2020 collections were $1,167.4 million. Enacted assumption is $1,212.8. Budget estimate is $1,292.3 million. Senate 1,283.0. House 1,294.0.
I definitely had a number of methods that got me to where you are or north of that. The one piece that gave me pause is the April collections were abnormally high. Year-over-year growth of north of 50% in that month, which just wasn't normal. So I took a monthly or year-over-year growth, but without April in that mix, which was about 7.8%, and I applied that just to the last 2 months and added it back into cash.
Yeah, I mean, our spreads got us to a higher number than we have in the 1300s. But yeah, given how big April is, which is really March activity, which probably means March stimulus payments. So I think we just kind of banked where we were ahead year to date. And that got us to our 1292 number.
Yeah, one thing I kind of focused on for this and the next year is looking at the registry receipts, where we have already received to date what we got 2 years ago, the whole year. And so I tried to assign some of that as one-time activity due to the stimulus payments, and I think very close to where budget ended up for that reason. I can do budget's number if that works for Steve.
Yep.
1,292.3. Okay, moving on to fiscal 22 for sales tax. We just did 1,292.3. The November estimate for 22 was 1,263.5. Budget is unchanged at 1,309.1. Senate is
1257.6.
1257.6. House is 1314.1.
I'm obviously the odd man out. I assumed negative growth. I used real disposable personal income. I feel like at some point there's got to be some, obviously other than the health impacts, but some economic negative from this pandemic, and I don't know where it's appearing. I assume there's a fall off without stimulus payments, without enhanced unemployment, without businesses having to invest on, protective equipment and things to reopen. So, it's all negative growth. I didn't have any other adjustments in my estimate.
So I tried to assign a value to the sort of durable goods, cars, the big purchases that may be non-repeating in 21, and for lack of a better estimate, I basically took the 2 times the registry receipts, thinking that that's definitely something, but then also there are other major purchases that people may shift to service or travel or something we don't capture as much sales tax on. But that was that is why my base is different for 22, but I did include real growth using percent of wage and salaries. 4.9, it's kind of high actually, but after you take money out of the base, I think that's kind of what the forecast is saying, is that there will be sustained growth. Maybe not as robust as I have, but I don't think it'll be negative.
Yeah, I mean, that was the only negative inflator I could come across. Obviously, applying any positive growth gets me much closer, or even north of you. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the overall personal consumption expenditures are up next year, but I think the big question is like how much of that is going to be taxable versus non-taxable kind of consumption, right? I assume there'll probably be some bounce back on the meals and beverage side, but is that enough to offset? Yeah, presumably a takedown on the cars and some of the other durable goods side. So yeah, I mean, we use some economic modeling that uses the personal PCE durable goods and PCE services. Variables from IHS, I guess just for some info there, that next year the durable goods forecast is for negative 2% growth next year, and then positive 11% for services, I think mostly driven by the food service and accommodation services next year. That's the baseline model, but baseline forecast from IHS. I think that the downside scenario has negative 4% durable goods growth, so even a bigger decline next year, and 8% service growth. So yeah, so we use a model that uses these inputs as variables. I think we end up looking at more on the downside scenario to get to our 1.3%, I think, overall growth. So, and we don't have many adjustments, so that's kind of the same as our base growth essentially. So yeah, I mean, it's tricky. It kind of comes down to what's one time this year. People, I assume, they probably accelerated some of their durable goods purchases, mostly like cars, but I'm sure other stuff as well. How much of that is not going to be in the base next year, and will there be enough other spending that happens next year to offset some of that? But we thought growth in the 1-2% range didn't seem unreasonable to us, but there's definitely some uncertainty here. So we thought our 1.3 made sense to us as a growth rate.
I mean, I could do something in the flat to 1% range. I know that's...
Are you saying 1% on the prior estimate, so like 1306.2-ish? Or are there things in there?
I was saying that. For some reason, mine comes out to 1305 too, but... We adopted 1292.3, correct?
That's my fault. I had transposed the 3 and the 2. That's why my 1% didn't come out to your 1%. 1305.2 would be 1%.
If that's what you two are agreeing on, that's fine.
I wasn't agreeing to anything. I was just making sure
All right,
I
fine.
understood what 1% was.
A little too eager here, okay.
I can agree to 1305.2. I know Jonathan is ready to agree to that, if that's what we agree.
No, I don't want to do that now. That's fine.
Steve, you're good with that? Okay, 1305.2. Okay, that gets us to motor vehicles. About 900,000 collected in 2020. The enacted estimate was 1 million. Budget is at 800, Senate 800, House 800. We are at 800,000. So nobody has to rebase 22, and we can move right on. The original estimate was 2.5 million. Budget 800, Senate 1 million, House 1 million. I can say that I just basically shifted sort of real ID activity, assuming more occurs now next year.
Yeah, we just kept it flat, assuming all the extra Real ID stuff would happen in 23 probably, not 22. And we assume this year would look like, or next year will look like this year. So we just kept it flat.
We can do $1 million.
All right, $1 million it is. Real ID will be delayed 6 more years and we'll never get this right. So that brings us to cigarettes, tobacco by component. Starting with cigarettes, 2020 actuals 127.9 million, enacted 143, budget 148.5, Senate 147.1, House 148.
I can do 148.
$148. And then on smokeless, we have 9.7 collected in 2020, enacted 12, budget 12, Senate 11.8, House 12.
12 soon.
12 million. Total of 160. If whoever had to rebase could just let me know when they're ready. Okay, so cigarettes 22, original November was 138.2, budget is
143.
143 even, Senate
143.4.
143.4, House is 142.1. I mean, I can do 143. It's just a question of what's the drop off. And 5-year average is what I was using. Prior 5-year average when you exclude the pickup from the mass. But 143 is fine.
Works for me.
Smokeless, November estimate 13, budget 13, Senate
13.
13, House 13, it is 13. So 143 and 13 are our tobacco numbers for a total of 146, 156, trying to add in my head. And the last of the sales and use taxes, we do alcohol excise. 2020 collections, 20.2 million, enacted 22 million, budget 22, House and Senate both 22, all parties are 22. The answer is 22. And for fiscal 22, the November estimate was 22.4, and all parties stay at 22.4. And that was very easy. We're going to move on to the other taxes for something a little less easy, and that is the estate transfer taxes, which came in at 55.3 for fiscal 20. We estimated 58.1 for the enacted. Budget's at 45, Senate 37.6, House 45.3. So my 21 number assumes 40 million in cash for 21 and 42.3 for 22.
Can you repeat those, Sharon? Can we go through all three, the 23 as well?
Sure. So my numbers are 40, 42.3, and 44.2.
I had 36, 37.4, and 39.1.
And then our cash numbers are 21 is 34.5, 22 cash is 49.2, and 23 cash is 50.7.
50.7?
Yes. So we just looked at spreads for this year's cash, which is trailing the estimate, and then we kept the same cash as for 22 and 23 as we did in November.
Yeah, I saw us collecting on average about 3 million a month. So I just applied that on the last 2 months. And out years, I used capital gains growth of 4 and 4.5 for 22 and 23.
So really the bigger difference, the biggest difference is our 22 number, which is because we have a very different 22 and 23 cash numbers. I know we've tried to say that at some point we're going to have a large one-time payment, and how do we account for that in some future year, which your estimate seems to try to do. I did it by just having all of the numbers be roughly in the same neighborhood. Steve has a burst of pessimism.
What's your growth, Sharon?
I have 5.8 in 21 to 22 and 4.5 22 to 23, but I start out kind of high in 21. So there's 2 months left in the year, and I saw a number of places where big payments came in. So we were definitely trailing, but this one is very hard to predict.
Yeah, so obviously we're the outlier here. I mean, typically we're the ones arguing for large payments, which is why we kept at the same cash numbers as November. But obviously we are trailing this year, so I think we are fine to move down in terms of those cash assumptions for the next couple of years.
How about we, what if we did 38 cash in 21, 41.8 in 22, 46 in 23? It's, definitely higher than the Senate and lower than the budget. Basically gets us 42.9 and 45 in terms of net estimate, which is really in the middle of where you guys are, and just a bit of a shift of my stuff in years. I mean, none of us can predict this, but recognizing that this might be a low year, I think we'd leave open the possibility that one of the next 2 years is a high year. Steve, do you?
I mean, it's completely possible and plausible that would happen. For some reason, my preference would just be to be more conservative on it, and if it happens, it's a bank error in our favor kind of thing, rather than it not happening. But that's about what, 10% growth each year.
Thinking about property sales as some of the value that goes into that.
Mm-hmm. Did you already plug it? I'm sorry, Sharon. What did you say it ends up being on the
Would
accrual?
yield 42.9 for fiscal 21, which is lower than, it's a little higher than you, and lower than the other two estimates, and 45 million for fiscal 22, which is lower than both the other estimates and higher than yours. Nope, sorry, not lower than mine. A little higher than mine.
Those three cash numbers, can you say those again, please?
Sure. Maybe. 38, 41.8, and 46. Again, I'm open to, lowering these, doing something different. Just, we have just pretty big differences.
Yeah, again, I mean, my preference is to be more conservative. At the same time, I see that they're completely plausible numbers, so I'm fine with it.
Okay, so that gets us a fiscal 21 state tax of 42.9 million and a fiscal 22 state tax of 45 million. Is that what you get when you plug those in? Everybody get that? All right, racing and athletics. 2020 collections of 821,000, enacted 400,000, budget 400,000, Senate 350, House 400,000,
400's fine.
400,000. November adopted for 22 was $1 million, budget's $1 million. Senate's rebase is
600.
600, House $1 million. I just stuck with, I think we'd be back to normal by next year.
I just took longer. I got us, was going like 50% over this year, the next year, but whatever's fine.
Senate is good with $1 million then?
Fine with $1 million.
Fine with $1
Not
million.
quite good.
Not good, but fine. Fine. All right, realty transfer. 2020 collections 13.9, enacted 15.4, budget 17.9, Senate 18.1, House 17. So I know collections are up and the market is hot. Inventory is low though, so I just tried to bank what we had on cash and estimate and add on to that, which is why I'm lower than you guys, I think.
Yeah, our spreads got us to 17.9, so.
I can get to 17.9.
Yeah, that's fine.
Senate is good at 17.9, or Senate is fine with 17.9. Okay, so that brings us to the 22 realty transfer. After adopting 17.9, we have a November 22 of 15.9. Budget is unchanged at 18.8. Senate is
19.1.
19.1, and House is 18.5.
Budget's fine.
18.8 is fine with me too. I'm actually even good with it. Okay. That completes the taxes. And we can move on to departmental receipts. Does anyone need a break or can we keep going? Departmental receipts. 2020 collections 435 million, enacted 390, budget 396.1, Senate 396.1, House 400. We thank you for the detailed file you provided. We noted a few items that might have been a little off, and that's after we had done our estimate, we wondered why we were that far off from you guys, and Liza can point out a couple of them.
Okay, so just, I noticed you guys didn't have the Central Falls repayment. There's 421,000 that they've paid. I also noticed, I think it might have been a typo in your file for the school for the deaf tuition. You guys had $59,000. They've already collected over 400,000, and they typically collect for 500,000. So that, I'm guessing, was just a typo. The other one I noticed, compassion centers. You guys were a little bit low, and I just looked at what had been collected year to date, and then just did spreads for the rest of the year. April is usually 80% of total collections. So just those three items on itself were 1.5 million. Those were the biggest differences I saw. There were some other smaller differences where it looked like you guys might have stuck with November and cash was actually higher, but I mean, there's, 300 lines, so.
Was the Central Falls just not in our data? Was it like not even in there?
It wasn't even in there.
Okay. Yeah, I know the Compassion Center piece, the only nuance there is I think there was a transfer in where basically there's kind of a double month because someone paid under sales tax by mistake and then taxation transferred it. I'm trying to find that. Yeah, I think there was a payment that should have been paid under the surcharge in February, but it came in under sales tax, February 2020.
Would it be corrected though by now in the?
Well, so I think that they made the transfer in October of 2020. So that 1 month looks, there's one month that's like 600,000 or something, which is far larger than. Yeah, I think so. I think there was basically someone paid under sales tax in February of 2020, which is fiscal 2020, right? They caught it in October and they made the transfer in October. So that 1 month is inflated, I guess. So just FYI on the surcharge. But
So we actually, I think, get even a little higher on spreads, but we can come down to 398. Steve, here, 398.
That sounds fantastic.
Oh, okay. Steve is fantastic with 398. And we're going to move on to 22, where we have budget at 249.8. We had originally adopted 249 even. Senate 246.3 and House 256.1. Down another bit.
Yeah, just,
254.
yeah.
yeah, no, Steve, I sent another file. I don't know if you caught the first file, not the second file. I had left out the license plate thing in 22. Is that why we're different?
Well, I purposely did not go with
okay.
it just because fool me once, shame on me, fool me 9 times. I'm not going to put it in the estimate.
I think we mostly stuck with kind of November growth rates on a lot of stuff. I mean, the big item is the tax interest, which is way down from what we thought it was going to be. And we kept a little bit of growth in there, but I think less growth than we had assumed in November.
we can come down to about maybe 251. Oh, you didn't rebase, right, because you do each one. But does 251 work?
Yeah, it's fine.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I mean, should we agree on the plate thing, or do you just want to?
Wait,
We slide checked.
Well, I guess Steve was the one who didn't put it in there.
I just wanted to tell my joke, really. I'm fine with
Okay,
either one.
so we have it in there
for 22,
pending the change to current law,
right.
right? So we all have the same number in the base that that the governor's budget takes out
Right.
if this passes.
Right. Okay.
Just, I mean, that's the more important thing that we agree, like what goes out and back in, honestly. We should be better at this by now. Okay, other miscellaneous. You should note that my 21 number is slightly different than yours, mostly because I just wanted to have a conversation on the Compassion Center license awards. We were told mid-May, so why do you guys assume nothing will be?
Yeah, I mean, that's from DBR. I mean, I think they're going to run their lottery shortly, but I'm not sure they're actually going to get fees in the door this fiscal year in terms of picking people. I assume there's some lag between when they pick people and when they actually pay their fee to get licensed.
And that's what they told you?
Yeah, that's from DBR. So we just assumed it would be nothing this year because they haven't quite done their lottery yet, even though that should happen this fiscal year. It sounds like the actual lottery will happen this year. They will pick people this year, but the actual fee collections won't happen probably until next year. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I
from
mean,
DBR.
basically they told us they'd be picking people this week, so I'm trying to figure out why in 6 weeks those picked people wouldn't be paying up. Or that was kind of. And is there any sort of accounting issue that if someone was picked and a license, like would that be payable?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. Yeah.
Good question.
Okay, I can adjust mine down to agree with what you guys have. I would appreciate if you could just kind of follow up a little on that. And we can do it ourselves too, but just curious how that'll work. So that puts us at other miscellaneous of 13.8 for 21, and we're all in agreement on 11 million for 22, right? And before we descend into chaos on lottery, I see we all have the same estimates for unclaimed property at 15.6 for 2021 and 14.2 for 2022. And now we turn to lottery. I have a few files to open, if you could just give me a moment. All right, lottery 2021. we can start with games. 2020 audited 54.2 million, enacted 57.5, budget 66.7, Senate 65, House 64.1. I can come up to the Senate's number. I really just went off what we collected and then sort of what the last few years, a couple of months look like to arrive at my number, which was a little low, I would agree.
That's fine.
65 million for games. Okay, VLT. If we move down to the NTI section and start doing this by component, we have Lincoln NTI, 2020 actuals 276.2, 21 enacted 232, budget 247.2, Senate 264.2, House 263. So I have us at 203 through April, which is about 30 million more than the prior month, which was also 30 million the prior month. And I just assumed that would be the case for the next couple months, and when I did that other crazy calculator sheet, I assumed the same thing.
Yeah, I did a month by month thing, using Paul's worksheets. Basically assume the same level of VLTs open that are open now through the end of the fiscal year, which is a little over half. Then in terms of the NTI per machine per day, I just kind of took the average of the entire fiscal year so far. Which, the hard part is that we've had a couple really good months recently, and obviously some bad months during the second wave. So I did the whole year average to get to 316 per machine per day. Times half the machines open got me to the kind of low 20s for the last 2 months of NTI. So, March and April look really good. I don't know how much that is being boosted by people coming back to the facility, stimulus checks, stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to continue for the next couple of months or if it's going to drop down at all. But so I took kind of a longer term average.
I did the same percent VLTs in use, just had the 55.9 for both May and June, and then I just carried April's NTI per day, 437.12. I just made the assumption that the most recent experience was kind of where we are on that recovery arc.
Yeah, I mean, if I look at a shorter average, this, since January, for the NTI per machine per day, I get to, total for the year of 254 pretty easily. Again, still not quite the recent strength, but definitely stronger than I had previously.
Sorry, Matt, did you say a different number or you were just explaining your number?
Yeah, I did. If I take a shorter average, instead of looking at the entire year's NTI per machine, I got to 254. If I look just since January, if I look just I think if I look just since February, I can get to 258 million for NTI. I guess I'm just worried that March and April look so good, there might be, some strength in there that maybe it won't repeat or might drop down a little bit. So just trying to look at a little longer term average.
Yeah, so I went back to my last couple of months and rather than assuming 30 million each month, if I did the February, March, April average of 26.8 get to 256.6, which sounds like it's in your,
Yeah, that's fine by me.
I'm sorry, Sharon. Oh, wait.
so what I said was if I adjusted my last 2 months downward to the average of February, March, April, rather than kind of what was happening in March and April, picking up a lower month, my NTI would go down to about 256.6.
At what percent of VLTs? 55.9?
Yeah.
Huh, I'm getting 258. I don't know why.
I'm essentially adding 26.8 million to May and June.
Yeah, mine comes out 27.9 and 27.
Just bottom line, average NTI, February, March, April, should be 226,836, no?
I mean, I don't know how you filled yours in. I filled in the percent VLTs in use at 55.9 in both months, and then I just filled in the NTI per VLT per day. I get an average of 393.19 for February, March, April. Is that?
February,
Yeah.
March, April was filled out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Sharon's just adding money to the NTI total, right? Year to date to get to
Yeah,
a new
that's what I'm
NTI
doing.
total. Not the actual
Very
calculation.
sophisticated. But it does use the NTI from those 3 prior months at whatever was happening those months.
Oh, okay. I
Do you see
took
what
it
I'm
based
saying?
on the NTI per day, and because it counts
Sorry,
for the
no.
change in days and things too. Because 28 in February. And
No, it wasn't not that sophisticated. Because originally I added 30 million for each month. Similarly unsophisticated methodology. But the same concept is that what was happening would continue to happen. This sort of takes into account there might have been a March, April bump from stimulus or whatever, so I drew in that extra month to lower the average.
Is that something you were both okay with? What, 256?
56.6 is what I suggested.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, so Lincoln NTI 2021, 256.6. Tiverton NTI 21, 76.6 million in the audited, fiscal 20 enacted 76.3, budget 78.9, Senate 83.4, House 83.2.
I assume we all kind of approached it the same way we did up above, right?
Yeah, same assumption about machines open, which is basically half, and then, yeah, I'd taken a longer term average of the NTI per machine per day. If I shorten that up, I can get to 81.2 pretty easily.
Yeah, if I make the same adjustment to this estimate as the other one, I get to 81.6, I think. But 81.2 works as well, depending on what Steve wants to do.
I'd just say let's just do the same methodology then. 81.6, is that?
Okay, 81.6 million NTI for Tiverton. I think we want to do our table games before we do that fill-in for the VLT, right? Don't we have to do that? In order to arrive at the transfer, we need the table game data? Yeah. So we'll move on to Lincoln gross table gaming revenue 21. We did 65.6 in the fiscal 2020. The enacted assumed 56.4. Budget is at 51.9. Senate 60.2. House 61.5.
Yeah, I mean, same thing for me here. Long-term average of the win per table per day. I did bump in poker starting in June, which I think was our assumption in November, and also I think was testified to, basically. So, yeah, so when I did that, I got to 59.1.
I can come down to 59.6 using the same idea as last time.
fine by me.
That's fine.
Lincoln table game 59.6. And the final component for this puzzle, Tiverton table games, actuals for 2020 17.7 million, enacted 17.0, budget 17.3, Senate 18.3, House 17.2. This one I did a little differently, which is why my number's so low compared to you guys. I would get closer to Steve if I did the same thing as I did on the other ones.
I get 18.2 doing it the same way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 18.2.
We're fine.
18.2 Tiverton table games. So let's take a moment to fill in the appropriate cells and see if we get the right number. Working off the combined table, we have, I'll read the numbers going down under 21, 2, 56, 6, 59.6, 81.6, 18.2, for total NTI 338.2, and net table games 77.8. Gets me to a VLT 200.8 and table 5.9. Is that right?
I have 0.6. I'm not sure why.
What's 200.6?
For the VLT transfer. Might be a rounding thing or something.
You didn't change anything on the cost side, did you, Matt? Lottery cost of operations?
No. Do we need a number of machines assumption?
We do.
Is that the difference?
My 21, I've got 2292.
That's what I used.
Yeah, I think I used an average. I did 2251, but I'm fine having that number. So if I do that, yep, 0.8. Okay, I'm good.
Okay, so lottery VLT revenues for 2021 are 200.8 million. Table game revenues for 21 are 5.6 million, correct? And let's do the 22 component of this before we move on to sports. I don't know if anyone's planning to rebase or I'm not. I think it was really just I think we all probably are just tinkering with the last couple months. Steve, unless you have a rebase.
No, we didn't do 22 games yet, did we?
Nope. Keep me on my toes. Can we go back to that after we do this while
Yep.
it's fresh, please? Okay, so assuming nobody has a rebase, we're just going to go through the VLT estimate, which was 271. Well, it's NTI, excuse me. Lincoln NTI was 350 back in November. Budget's at 346.2, Senate 398.5, House 390.
So yeah, in terms of the opening timeline, assumed for July and August, still half the machines are open, then 65% for September and 75% October, November, December, and then fully open in January, which I don't think is too different from what we did in November, but I mean, I was some pause from the fact that Mark said, seems like they're kind of at capacity in terms of their demand is, so even having more slots open might actually not lead to much more revenue. And in terms of the month-to-month NTI, I mean, it's difficult because it's really not a good year to compare it to, because FY21 obviously is and 20 are impacted by the pandemic, and FY19 I think was pre-Everett, so it might be pre the change from the Boston area casino. So yeah, I think I use mostly 21 NTI per machine numbers, try to gross it up a bit in December, November, because those are so low because of the pause and the second wave. So yeah, I mean, it all came out to a lower number than we previously adopted, which did seem a little conservative, but again, the fact that they're maybe at capacity already did give me some pause there.
Yeah, I don't really have it ticking up until until the last quarter of the fiscal year.
I didn't actually do 22 on like a monthly basis. I just I looked at where my 21 estimate was versus last November. Had us up almost 14% at Lincoln. Kind of applied that to the 22 estimate. I understand what you're saying, Matt, from Mark's testimony. But they also are planning to start having, they can have events there. They talked about removing some of the plexi and reorienting machines and things later this month. So, maybe some of that lack of demand is just because it's laid out weird and whatever. My number I don't have a formal rebase, but it would be a little bit down since we adjusted, the 21 down from where I was.
Yeah, I end up down closer to 381.
Yeah, I mean, my NTI per month, just average July through January, it all shakes out to like $26.8 million per month for the first half of the, first half of the year through December is like 25, 26, and then second half of the year is 31.7 per month. So, maybe a bit conservative in the first part of the year. I mean, I guess I do worry that as more machines open, I assume kind of the per machine yield will go down. So, I do worry about overcounting some of the more recent data, which just has less machines but more yield per machine.
So what did you say your monthly average was?
Yeah, so for because it does change. The first half of the year, July through December, 26 million, which again is a bit low, though I guess we were thinking it's maybe going to be like 27 million to end this fiscal year, right? And then the last half of fiscal 22, so January through June, the average is $31.7 million of NTI per month. So some growth there, maybe not quite enough growth from as things reopen again, but. Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't see much change in terms of our knowledge compared to November when it came to fiscal 22. In terms of the timeline, I mean, I guess things are overall better this year, so maybe that would suggest next year should be better as well. But I think we did assume it was going to reopen over the first half of next year, kind of gradually, right? So I was, a bit surprised to get below the enacted number, but I don't know, I just didn't want to overcount again because I'm not sure how, as things open, if we're going to see much more yields on a kind of a per slot basis.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just too conservative to suggest that for the next 8 months we get no more than we got in the prior 3 months average. That seems fairly conservative. And then even after that, it only grows a little bit. We're essentially assuming for fiscal '21 an average of about 26.8 million the last several months. I think it would make sense to assume at least that for the first 6 months. And then there's some growth happening above that. Even if it's not a ton, I think we could say that it's going to be maybe 25% higher than basically the full pandemic average. That got us up to about 33 and a half. Rather than 31.7 you were talking, that'd get us up to about 362. I just don't think there's no growth or such low growth. Particularly given some of the other opening things happening and more people be vaccinated, etc., looking for entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, 360 is definitely reasonable to me.
I mean, that's a, what, 30 million average a month, which we did in April, and I just think if we've already hit that, I would expect us to average better than that. And, you know, unless something unforeseen happens, but assuming conditions keep improving on the COVID front, I would expect us to be north.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should be higher. I don't think it should be any lower than in the 360s for the reasons I just explained, but I'm obviously I have a higher number.
So I can get the 370 if I bump up some of my assumptions around the kind of per machine yield, especially in those earlier months.
That works for me.
Yep. Same.
Okay, so that brings us to Tiverton and NTI, right? Lincoln NTI 2022 is 370. So Tiverton NTI was in the November adopted 106. Budget is at 108.9. Senate 115.9. House 110.4.
I can do the house.
It's fine.
All right, so Tiverton NTI 10.4 million. Table games 1 and 2. Lincoln and Twin River. We have a November number of 84 for Lincoln. Budget's at 91.3. Senate 100.4. House 86.4. Probably have a rebase on that. I can do budget's number.
Sure.
Lincoln table game 2022 91.3. Tiverton table game 2022 November estimate 23 million, budget 25.6, Senate 20.8, House 21.8. I can come up based on our prior estimate, 22.3.
Yep, sounds good to us.
All right. That's Lincoln table game revenue. Now we're gonna calculate the transfer.
I think we need another assumption about VLTs.
Yes,
that are
good
open.
point. I have 3127. Why do I have that? Came from my monthly.
Yeah, I had 3424. Not sure where I got that. I thought my average month to month based on the breakdown I thought might happen.
I have 3845, and I don't know where I got it. Oh, I know where I got it. I assumed 75% of the machines were in July, August, and September, and then 100% after that.
It was similar. I think I had a bit less open in July and August.
I had 3845.
I had 3424.
I had 3127. I can split the difference and use budgets, number of machines. I don't think it moves the needle too much
No.
on the transfer.
I'm sorry, what number then, Sharon?
Budget's 3424. I had 3127. Sure. Let's see if we have this right. Column M5, 370. Twin River tables, including poker, is 91.3. Tiverton VLTs, 110.4. Tiverton table games, 22.3. That gets us to state share on VLTs of 285.7. Did you get that?
I'm sorry, what did we adopt for Tiverton 22 VLTs? One ten.
110.4, yep. Did you guys get that?
Yeah, 285.7. Wait,
Oh, sorry. No, that's what I had. I was looking at the NTI number. Okay, 285.7 and 11.4. Okay. All right, that matches.
what's your table games for 21 state share?
5.9.
5.9, okay. Yeah, yep.
We all have these numbers. Okay. Sports betting? Oh, sorry. I forgot about Lottery 22. Games. Do something easy. Just keep me on my toes. All right. 22. We're at 65 for the 21 estimate, right? As I look for my, excuse. 65, Senate. I just need to rebase, sorry. Hold on a second, please. Okay, sorry about that. So lottery games, 22 is November adopted 58.2, budget rebase
62.1.
62.1. Senate no rebase, right? You're 63.8 still?
Yes.
And House is at 65.3. So you guys are assuming some of that is one-time activity? Not robust iLottery activity that's going to stay
Yeah,
forever?
I guess. So there's both the Keno, which should be probably going up, and then there's the other parts, which, given there's jackpots this year, I assume that would probably go down. So, I mean, it looks like typically after we have a big year, we have a down year, which I think is the jackpot effect, right? So I did assume some takedown from that.
I didn't really know how to account for the different, the changes in the games, the Lucky for Life, more drawings, the way the jackpots are done on Powerball and Mega. I'd be fine holding it flat if people want to do that.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one that has it at or above the prior year, so, right, because didn't we do 65.1? 65, excuse me.
65, yep.
So, I mean, to me, it makes more sense to do either budget or Senate's number somewhere in between to account for that down, which I think I probably should have but didn't. 63.8.
That's fine.
63.8. Okay, game 63.8. On to the last component of lottery and the entire estimate, and we have sports betting. So we go to the bottom of the component sheet and look at on-site sports handle. 2020 numbers showing 150.4, an enacted estimate of 185.8. Budget is at 162.5. Senate 174.1. House 167.9.
Yeah, I think I just did a spreads on the handle to fill in the last 2 months based on maybe some New Jersey or some other sports betting data month to month. So that's how I got to my number. I mean, it does seem like revenue-wise we're okay because our hold percentage is so high, but we've seen less activity than we thought.
I don't know if we want to do it by facility too. They do have different holds, so.
Do you want to talk about what you have, Steve, then?
Sure, for Lincoln, at 123.8. And a hold, which was just based on year-to-date, of 9.34%. Want me to go through them all?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, at least the facilities. Just two more numbers, right?
I'm sorry, what, you're just asking what Tiverton was?
Yeah.
50.3 at 12.79 hold.
I can tell you I did a 9% hold for both facilities for 21. I did not differentiate. And I did 118.7 and 49.2 on the handle.
Yeah, we did a 10% hold for both facilities. And in terms of handle, Lincoln 114.7 and Tiverton 47.9.
I'm sorry, can you both repeat your holds? Sharon, yours was 9
Yep.
even?
Yep.
Matt, yours was 10 something?
10 even for
10
both.
even, okay.
I'm going to suggest a couple of numbers and just tell me if any of this sounds okay, since we're all over the map here, but hovering in the same general vicinity. Could we do 120 and 50 for each facility, and then 9 and 10 on the holds?
I mean, what does your hold have to be for the last 2 months to drive a 12.79 down to a 10? It's gotta be pretty low, I would guess, right?
I guess. Some years it's negative. I mean, some months it's negative, depending on the event. And we could go up to 11. I'm just trying to get something that sort of encapsulates everybody's estimates.
I'd prefer the 11, but I can do 10 if it gets us there.
Doesn't matter to me. We can do 11 if you want. I'll listen to
So 10
arguments
for
about it.
Tiverton, or what's the question?
He wants to do 11 for Tiverton versus 10, which I suggested, and 9, which I had. And he had 12.8.
Yeah, that's good with us.
Which one?
11
Okay.
for the hold for Tiverton.
So 120, 50, 9, and 11? Does that work for you, Steve? Okay. Should we stick with 21 and do the remote piece? Okay, that was adopted. So now we're on remote sports handle, which was about 50 million in 2020, estimated to be 246.3 in 21. Budget's at 176. Senate is at 197.1 and House is at 185.4. And I probably should have said the prior on-site sports handle combines to a total of 170 million. And since we know everybody's handle here, can we just mention the holds we're using? I'm using 9 for remote.
I had 9.82, which was just the year-to-date.
We have 10 even.
$185, 9.5.
Works for me. So total remote sports betting handle of 185 million. And an assumed hold of 9.5%. That gets us to a total transfer to the state of $17.2 million, which is budget's estimate. Completely different way of getting there, but nice. Okay, we're going to move on to 22, same stuff. On-site sports handle. Oh, we can talk about it by facility if that's something people want to do. We have prior estimate of 13.2, budgets combined is 198.4, Senate's 2029, House is 188.7. Do we have rebases to consider? And I used an 8% hold on my facility estimates.
So did I.
We use 7%.
Was the adopted, and I'd be comfortable using 7%. We've just been very conservative on this one. Or even 7.5. We're waiting for this to settle down. I'm not really sure what the right number is.
Yeah, I mean, he said it was going to come back to earth. I don't know how quickly, or I don't fully understand what drives it up and down. So 7.
Okay, we just got to land on a handle. What were your facility splits? Did you want to talk about those, Steve?
If you want, if we're using the same handle, it really doesn't bother me, but I had 157.6 and 40.1.
I had 150 and 38.7.
Yeah, we grew our handle off of the prior year, so this is going to be different from what we had. But 165.4 and 41.8. That's basically a rebased number, essentially. I think we assumed the same growth as the rec last time.
I'm fine with using those numbers. I did not rebase, and if I did, it would have come up in both cases, so. Steve, do you have a preference on I think our biggest difference is really the Lincoln facility handle.
No, I'm fine. 165.4.
Yep. And then 41.8.
Yep.
And a 7% handle. Excuse me, hold. Now on remote sports betting, our November estimate was 278.8. Budget's in at 199.2 still, or?
Yeah, I mean, same thing, because we grew off last year. This would be 209.4.
209.4. Senate 233.1, or?
No, I have 209.4, but oh wait. I think it rebased on me. 209. I have 209.4 as well.
Okay, and I have 209.1, but I can do 209.4.
Yeah, mine was just driving off the change from November, so.
All right, so it looks like we have a remote sports betting total of 209.4. What are we doing on the hold? Did you go back down to 6, or did you stay at 7?
I did say it at 7.
7. I was at 7 as well. Steve is at 7. All right. If I did this right, we have a transfer of 15 million even. Does anyone else get that?
I'm at 14.8, but
So I didn't do it right. Let me start again. 2094 is the remote, right?
14.8 as well. Did you put in the lottery marketing up top? E4. Just kept that at our November 343, 950.
Yes, I meant to do that.
Same here,
I
yep.
did not. 14.8 is the right number. Okay. So if we could just maybe review the entries for lottery. I want to make sure we've got them all right. So many. Starting on 21, games 65, VLT 20.8, 200.8, table games 5.6. Huh? You have 5.9?
It's 5.6 is I have that as Twin River, and then 0.3 as Tiverton.
This is why we're doing this. Let me see. You are correct. 5.9. All right. Sports betting 17.2. $288.9 for total lottery revenue 2021. And just quickly, the NTIs are 256.6, 81.6. Table games are 59.6 and 18.2. And on-site handle is 170 and 185 even? I don't have that in front of me. Okay, great. Let's do the same for 22. Make sure we're in agreement on what those are. They are not in front of me. Do we do 63.8 on 22 games? VLT is 285.7. Table games 11.4. And sports betting 14.8, right, we just did that. For a total of 375.7? Okay. And that was using Lincoln NTI of 370 and excuse me. Tiverton NTI of 110.4. Table game revenues at 91.3 and 22.3. And then sports handle. Can you read me those?
That one I didn't.
On-site sports handle. Hold on. Yes, 207,200. And 2094 for remote handle. Okay, that completes the lottery and the check, and I can run through the rest of the estimates, make sure we have the right numbers, including me. Starting in 2021, personal income tax, 1,540 even. Business Corp, 114.5. Public utilities, 99.2. Financial institutions, 33.8. Insurance, 135.1. Bank deposits, 3.7. Healthcare provider, 36.6. Sales and use, 1,292.3. Motor vehicle, 800,000. Cigarettes, 160. Alcohol, 22. Estate, 42.9. Realty transfer, sorry, racing athletics, 400,000.
And realty 17.9.
Realty transfer is 17. For a tax total, 17.9. For a tax total of 3,885.3. Oh, for God's sakes. Sorry, just kidding. 3,499.2.
Yeah.
You should have seen the estate tax number I'd put in. Okay. All right. So on departmentals, we ended up at
398.
and other miscellaneous 13.8. And lottery 288.9 and unclaimed 15.6. 4215.5.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to 22. Personal income 1535. Business Corp 147.2. Public utilities 101. Financials 26.9. Insurance 137.9. Bank deposits 3.5. Healthcare provider 38.9. Sales and use 305.2. Motor vehicles 1 million. Cigarettes 156 million. Alcohol 22.4. Estate 45 even. 45 million even. Racing and athletics 1 million. Realty transfer 18.8. For total taxes 3,539.8. Okay. Departmentals 251. Other miscellaneous 11. Lottery 375.7. Unclaimed 14.2. That brings the total to 4,191.7. Everybody good? All right. Any other issues? Items to discuss? Still waiting on caseload rebase. Hopefully we can get that resolved and then the governor item rebase is resolved quickly. I've got drafts of the reports that'll be out very, very quickly. So we can close that. Thank you all very much. We are finished.